Hi everyone, I'm Tom and this is my top 10 games that I am excited about for the UK Games Expo that will be for sale there. And the UK Games Expo is the 2nd to the 4th of June at the Birmingham NEC, and you can see a geek list that I made where publishers got in touch and told me all of the games and goodies and demos they'll have there. It's about 9 pages long at the moment. There is a lot to see at the expo, and you can click on that. I'll put a link in the description. There are also videos for the demos I'm most excited about and just a preview video where I talk about the rest of the games I'm excited about. But this is top 10 games for sale. So number 10 is Wordsy from Formal Ferret Games at stand D8. This is a word game, as you might guess, and in it, it's not a conventional one really. It's got, I think, 8 cards that will be laid out. They're all consonants and they will have different points values, and the aim isn't to, use all of the letters and try and make the best word. It's to try and use those letters as much as possible because they will score every time that you use them. So you are not just restricted to letters in your hand or whatever. The world's your oyster, but you've got to try and use the ones that are worth the most points the most times. Why is it so low on the list? Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy it really. I know it's got a solo option in it, but I know that my girlfriend Rachel, who I play most of my games with, really doesn't like word games at all. We've found that from Paperback and Letter Tycoon, and also we found that when we revisited Paperback for the first time in a long time, quite recently with some friends, I found out that my friends don't like word games either. So I don't know if it'll be one I'll be able to pick up, but I can look at it longingly anyway. Number 9 is Pocket Mars from Board&Dice at stand H2. And this is a game that's, a fast filler game, but also promises to be full of, heavier decisions as well. It's all about these different stations of Mars, and we're trying to get our astronauts onto these different stations and play our cards to give us actions. But there are a lot of combinations of where you can play the cards, where you can play the cards from, and all of these different things that will make different bonuses happen. Bonuses based on the location of the card, what is on the card itself, and where you play it from will all make different actions trigger. So it looks like there's a lot to be thinking about while you're playing it. I don't know that much about it yet, but I'm definitely going to be checking it out there. Number 8 is Nimbee from A-Muse-Ment at stand F10, and this is a game that was on Kickstarter a few months ago. I remember seeing it on there, and it's a game where we have our worker bees that are trying to move around the hive, and depending on where they go determines an action that they will trigger. We're trying to get these flower cards that are around the outside. We can use powers from the queen, all of these different things, but the theme seems really nice. The actual placing of the workers sounds really interesting, and definitely interested in checking that out. That's Nimbee. Number 7 is Bärenpark from Mayfair Games at stand B2. A few reasons this is on the list. First, it's from Phil Walker Harding, who has designed some great things. Cacao, he designed Sushi Go, and this is a game where we are, in the vein of Patchwork or Cottage Garden, where we have those differently shaped tiles that we are trying to fit together to make a beautiful bear park, really. The description tells us about various types of bears and things. And there's different colored tiles and different shapes and things, and you're trying to not waste any part of your park. And I have heard, I've seen a couple of posts talking about, this is what people wished Cottage Garden was. Cottage Garden was a bit light for me. Still would just play Patchwork really, but definitely interested in the idea still. Love the placing of the Tetris-y shaped tiles, so can't wait to see how it works in that game as well. Next is Terra, which is available from Inside the Box Games at stand E7, and this is a cooperative game where we are trying to escape a cave, basically. There are a ton of hazards that can, and a million things can go wrong with our trying to escape this, but we are trying to work together, use our various powers. There is like the engineer who can make new routes. He can use dynamite to blast new routes. Scouts can, see ahead more easily. Really interesting to see how this plays, because I like, it's not on screen, but The Cave is a great game. That's a competitive game of going down into these caves and exploring and things. This is a cooperative game where we're trying to just escape them. So definitely interested in checking that one out. Number 5 is Gloom of Kilforth from Whole or Nothing Productions, stand D14. And this was a game that had a really successful Kickstarter, and apparently I just completely missed out on any mention of it. And it's a fantasy game, a role-playing game where we are trying to defeat a big evil in the land, trying to get more powerful and defeat a big bad. And it's really trying to emphasize the experience of a campaign kind of compressed into a night. I think it's 1 to 3 hour game, where storytelling seems to be a really big part of it that I'm really interested in, and it's got everything you would expect from a role-playing game, combat and leveling up your character as you go along. It looks like there is a lot in the box, a lot of cards and different experiences and things, and I am really interested to see what I have been missing out on. Number 4 is SUPERHOT card game, again from Board&Dice at stand H2, and this is a micro deck building game. I know nothing about the video game that it's based on. It looks quite cool. It's got a very nice art style that's used in the card game as well. And it's a deck builder where we will have enemies that are trying to take us out. They will be putting bullets into our decks, and if you draw too many bullets, then you're out. You will have places where you can hide and things. There are a lot of modes to play. There's the solo where you're trying to fight against the machine, cooperative where more than one of you can play competitively as well. And you can play in teams as well. One person can be the system that you're trying to play against. So a lot of different ways of playing it. I'm most interested in the solo and co-op modes, but really excited about SUPERHOT. Number 3 is Bärenpark from, you guessed it, Board&Dice at stand H2. They've got 3 really exciting new premieres that are coming out at the UK Games Expo, and this is the 3rd one, but it's the one I'm most excited about because this looks like a heavier kind of game. The others are a micro deck builder and a heavyweight filler. But this is a game where we own breweries. We are trying to brew our own brands of beer and come up with the best recipes to try and win festivals and things. There are different trends in the markets and what the critics are looking for, and we want to be selling a lot of beer as well as doing well in the festivals and things. That it looks like there is a lot going on in it, and I am really interested in seeing how it all works. Number 2 is Between Two Cities Capitals from Stonemaier Games, but they're not going to be at the UK Games Expo. This is going to be available from Board Game Extras at stand H4. I think the release is July it's slated for, so you'll be able to get it early at the UK Games Expo. And this adds modules to Between Two Cities. If you haven't seen that, it's a brilliant, quick game that plays up to 7 people, 8 people, where every person sits around a table, and between you and the next person there will be a city. So you will be literally between 2 cities, and you will be drafting tiles and laying them in a 4x4 grid and all of them score differently. The parks want to make a big shape together. The industry doesn't want to be next to the residential. That kind of city building thing that you've seen in other games, but it's very unique about how you place these things. Some tiles are doubles, so they really mess up placement and affect how you're going to draft. It's a really great game, and this is the expansion for it. It adds different modules, so it adds civic buildings that will have certain conditions on them. They all count as civic buildings. It's a new type, and it might say on it, this one wants to be next to a factory and a commercial, but it wants to be away from parks, for example, and you will get points for every time that you have done that next to the tile. But if you put it next to a park, it's only worth 1 point. The next thing is landscape mats. So everyone will get a unique one, and it will have a certain arrangement of obstacles. It'll look very nice as well, so you might have a river that suddenly runs through your city, or mountains that get in the way. You will have one of these mats, and you can't build on those spaces. You will have certain tiles available. You will have certain bridges as well on the mat that will link up tiles that wouldn't normally be adjacent. They count as adjacent, but you build on the tiles that are available on the mat and around the mat. So it's really going to affect how you can place your tiles, even further than it is already. And the last thing that it adds are districts. So there will be a majority bonus at the end of the game. You will have these combinations of cards that say, parks and offices, and the people that have got the biggest area of parks and offices next to each other will get a big bonus at the end of the game. So there's quite a lot to add there to Between Two Cities, and I'm really excited to see how it changes the game up. And finally, number 1. Now, before I say what it is, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be there. You know, I don't think it's even 100% that it's going to be there for demo, but it's kind of, you know, it's probably going to be available to demo. Maybe even it's going to be available for sale if production goes well, but I am optimistic. So maybe this belongs on the demo top 10, but let's be really optimistic and say Caverna Cave versus Cave is the one I'm most excited about. And primarily, it's Uwe Rosenberg, you know, just anything that he puts out usually, I'm there. I'm there to try it anyway. You know, I'm full of optimism to begin with, and you know, anyone can reel off a load of Uwe Rosenberg games. Maybe not necessarily that they really love, but I tend to love his games. You know, Feast for Odin, Agricola, obviously. You know, yeah, I don't need to say his games, but this is a 2-player version of Caverna. If you know about Agricola, All Creatures Big and Small, that was a 2-player version of Agricola that concentrated on the animals in Agricola. And this concentrates on the room building of Caverna. So Caverna took the farming of Agricola and added this mountain that your people could excavate and put rooms in, put ruby mines and all these different things in. So I'm really interested to see how this 2-player version works. Caverna itself, I've only ever played once. I played at a game group and just kind of thought, well, this is great, but I really miss the cards and things that are in Agricola. I really like that part of it the most, and so having that taken out of Caverna, I've never really felt the need to go back to it that much, but I am really interested to see how this works just in its 2-player form, because that is how I play 95% of all of my games. So if, regardless of the game that it's based on, if this is a great 2-player game, then I am really excited about it. So Caverna Cave versus Cave is what I'm most excited about. So that's it for the top 10. I mentioned the list is in the description where you can go and look at all the games for yourself. There's the Tabletop Together tool that there's a link on the list there where it's a great way of once you've looked through the list and seen the descriptions and things, it's a great way of prioritizing them, and it can make great lists for you. I used it for Essen last year, and it was fantastic for me to work out how I was getting around and what I was going for the most. But yeah, that's the top 10 games that I'm excited about for sale there. And I've also done, top demos that I'm excited about and a preview video of the rest of the stuff, so you can check those out if you want. But thanks a lot for watching, and maybe I'll see you at the UK Games Expo. Bye, everyone.